As I look out into the crowd, I'm honored and completely overwhelmed to be standing in front of you. I see so much strength, courage, and people willing to step up into the ring. I do have to apologize for reading instead of speaking. This is new for me because these are the joys of what Lyme has done to my brain. My fight started 25 years ago when I was 12 years old. After returning from camp in Cleveland, Georgia, I just didn't feel right. And then I had what I've always referred to as the worst flu in my entire life. Immediately the symptoms started. I started to have debilitating migraines, and they continued for the next 24 years. More symptoms continued to creep up throughout the years. Before even becoming a teenager, I found myself in a boxing ring without proper knowledge, tools, or the training to have any chance of winning. After years of seeing so many doctors, treating the symptoms, trying to diagnose me or treat me for migraines, chronic headaches, fibromyalgia, IBS, IBD, depression, bipolar, chronic fatigue, arthritis, and the list goes on. Sadly, like we've all experienced. Then there were the doctors that were telling me that I was just faking it. I was just seeking attention. I was sent to psychiatrists who told me I was clinically depressed because I was withdrawing from life and considered even attempted suicide. I thought I was down for the count, that my fighting career was over before it even started. But somehow, with every knockdown, I kept getting up. After so many doctors, everyone, including me, started to believe that I must be crazy. So throughout the years, I learned to lie and to hide my symptoms as much as I could. Then suddenly, 6 years ago, the most amazing person in the world changed everything. I was finally given permission to be honest, not just to the world, but most importantly to myself. I realized but most importantly, it was the first time that I felt that I was not alone. That there are actually people out there like me, that I'm not crazy most of the time, but that there are people in my corner training and cheering me on. Finally getting an answer, a diagnosis, was unfortunately not the win that I was expecting it to be. Sadly, we all face this devastating reality. The real fight had only just begun, and this time it was my heavyweight title. Now I've learned I'm not just fighting Lyme disease and all of the co-infections that have decided to invade my body and my life. But now I found myself in two rings at once, fighting for my life and how to pay for treatment. But I was ready. A tick may have completely stolen my stamina, but not the fire inside of me. I was not giving up. I started with what I thought was the only answer, and I paid for everything out of pocket. But like we've all dealt with it, how long can that really last? Insurance continued to deny every claim, but I kept appealing and appealing and submitting and submitting. Then I spoke to this incredible angel within the Georgia Lyme disease patient group, and she asked me, "Have you done all the claims and appeals?" I said, "Of course." She said, "Stop." What? I seriously thought she was suffering from Lyme brain and was confused. Then I realized she was right. It's a numbers game to them. Sadly, so many patients give up due to the frustration because they don't know what to do, they are exhausted, and they feel completely defeated after the 18th denial. With the understanding that this is all a game, and that I may not be better at it, but I am learning, and I am not going away. I strapped on my gloves, and stepped into the ring with my insurance company in February of 2012. After exhausting the paper trail route, receiving denial after denial, it was my turn to start hitting back. I stopped with the claims. I started calling and calling and calling twice a week, every week. I was going to have my voice heard no matter how many times it took. I was going to learn the process and get my treatment covered. That was when I got my first knockdown. I finally succeeded in getting some of the charges added to my deductible. It was ridiculously minimal. But I actually received a check in the mail, a reimbursement check for $22. I had no idea that $22 would make me so damn happy. But it also made me that much more motivated. The next knockdown that I gave was when an insurance company employee actually told me that you can get almost any doctor approved to be an in-network provider. Whoever tells you that? Nobody knows. The doubters and naysayers kept telling me it's never been done, don't trust the insurance companies, and on and on. And I finally responded, well, why the hell can't I be the first? It was a process. I was denied 3 times, and I continued my phone calls and submissions and phone calls. I wanted to make sure that I remained friendly and respectful every time. I had to remind myself for every phone call that it is not the person on the phone's fault. They are doing their job and how they were trained to do it. But I can promise, watch out. I will continue to fight for remission and the future that I want. I will continue to speak out and share my experience, hopefully helping and encouraging anyone else getting into this ring to not give up. We all deserve it. Through all of this, I can comfortably tell you, play their game. Show them what a good stalker you can be. We all need to stand up, talk, don't hide, educate. The more knowledge and awareness, the larger our army of boxing fighters we will have. Every knockdown one of us gets brings us closer to a win for all of us. The bell has not rung. I don't see anybody that has a championship belt. So the fight is not over. Do not give up. Thank you so much.
All right, next to the stage we have Shawana Adelberg.
Great. Good job. Hi. My story is very similar to everyone's else. I was bit in June of 2006. I pulled a tick out of my groin and brought it in a bottle to my doctor, who told me that since I didn't have a rash, I was fine. Everything I read online seemed to confirm this. 3 months later, while driving my kids home from camp, I remember getting into my bed thinking I was having a heart attack. I had horrible tachycardia. I had horrible fatigue. I didn't know what was happening. I called my family physician and said, do you think I have Lyme disease? And she told me I was dehydrated because it was the summer. This was a healthy woman who at that point was in her 40s. I exercised in the heat. It didn't make sense. After 3 days of salt loading, which was her recommendation, I fought with her. Sick as I was, I said, I have Lyme disease. I have Lyme disease. She kept arguing with me, but finally agreed to give me IV Rocephin.
The tick was in me probably, I was gardening at 3, I pulled it out at 10 o'clock, which kind of disputes the theory that it has to be attached for over 24 hours. Within 3 months of my bite, I was given Rocephin, however the Lyme had already spread. After the IV, she told me I should be fine, and my journey began. Because my husband's a physician in a hospital, other physicians were polite to me and didn't dispute the fact of Lyme disease, but on the other hand, did not know how to cure it. I saw numerous doctors before I finally found a Lyme literate doctor. And what amazed me is how, as I reached out and talked to other people, we all felt somewhat embarrassed that we have this invisible disease. I think this is the time now that we shouldn't be embarrassed. We didn't ask for this disease. We need to stand up to the physicians. I certainly had my share of physicians that told me I was tired, I was depressed, and I argued with them, telling you, I'm not sick, I'm not depressed. Too many of us, because we're sick and because we're depressed, give up. We shelter the names of our LLMDs because we're afraid that they're going to get targeted by the ISDA. But I think the time's come that now we all need to be strong. We all need to stand up to those people that say there's no such thing as chronic Lyme. We need to be vocal. We need to be heard. We need to reach out to one another and form support groups. We need to advocate for better research. The NIH and the ISDA continues to say there's no such thing as chronic Lyme. However, many of you may be aware that the Red Cross states that we're not allowed to give blood. There's a huge disconnect there, and we need to make others aware of it. We need to educate our physicians, not in rage and not angry, but in a polite way so that they can accept what we're having to say. Most of our physicians don't want to be proven wrong, or maybe they're afraid to treat outside the standards. But I think that if we talk to them in a respectful manner, giving them articles that prove chronic Lyme exists, we can make a change. Now's the time for all of us to speak up. It's coming to the forefront. There's so much more awareness. We're all out here doing what we can, but we need to do more. We need to educate one another. We need to educate our physicians. And most of all, we need to stop being invisible and afraid. Thank you.